Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide, and in today's video we are checking out another reflective LCD monitor. This time it's coming again from the company called Eazeye I, and yeah, like before, they are trying to kind of merge the reflective LCD technology, the benefits of reflective LCD technology, and to amend the limitations of that technology by introducing a front light functionality as well as the backlight functionality. And in this case, they're amending the size aspect as well, because this is a 15.6-inch reflective LCD panel, which is not something that we've seen before in this type of a form and factor. Now, very important, two important disclosures. As usual, this is sent to me by Eazeye I as a review loan unit, and I don't get to keep it. This is something that I return when I am done with it. But the second disclosure is really important, and that is that this is a crowd-funded project and a crowd-funded venture, and I will not tell you you should go for it or you should not go for it. However, what I do yes, I'm 5 years old. I find that amusing when I say do, but what I do is basically cover products like this, which are going to be difficult to actually find objective information on online, and especially if it's a crowdfunding kind of a venture, I think the objectivity is paramount, so that people know and they can see exactly what it is that they are getting into. Now, that being a crowdfunding project in itself, I can't give any kind of guarantee that the end product is gonna be better, the same, or worse than what I have here, because this is a prototype, right? So this is a pre-production prototype. That's not a production, full-on production finished device. So I don't know, right out of the get-go, I don't know what the finished product will be. Will it be finished in time? Will it be shipped in time? None of those things. I don't know them, I can't guarantee them, and as such, I have to put this kind of disclosure in front of all of this so that you guys know that any time that you support anything that's crowdfunded, that is a risk that you take upon yourself entirely, right? So as long as you're aware of that you can't get your money back, that you can't get anything should something go wrong with a campaign, then yeah, you've got to keep that in mind. So with that out of the way, let's now get to the Eazeye I 15.6 reflective LCD panel with the front light and see what's it about. And here it is, the Eazeye I world's first TLCD monitor. So, and this is a portable one, which is actually absolutely awesome to see that we have a 15.6-inch display with a 60 Hz refresh rate, 1080p resolution, but using the reflective LCD panels. Up until now, we've had from Sun Vision display, we had the 32-inch giant reflective LCD screens that were great. Then we had Eazeye I, which I believe was 24 or 27-inch screen. Again, really large, but kind of getting down in the size department and cost department. And now finally we're getting to the point where it's actually something that you may consider for your everyday use, because it is a 15.6-inch display and it is something that it makes it a very interesting proposition. Now, right from the get-go, we get to see that it has touchscreen capability. It's iPhone compatible. It's also Android compatible that I've tested, and I know it has an all aluminum body. It's Visa compatible. It has a 60 Hz refresh rate size, has one mini HDMI and two Type-C connection ports, as you can see here on the side. And because it's a reflective LCD, and Eazeye I is actually using the full spectrum LEDs plus DC dimming. That means that it's not just a reflective LCD screen, it's actually a reflective LCD screen with the backlight that's using DC dimming. And full spectrum LEDs, that means that overall quality, it's the picture that you're getting from the screen that's using full spectrum LEDs is going to have less blues. It won't be able to give you a pure white, and it's generally giving a more papery like type of image, which means a little bit softer, warmer type of image quality. Definitely not color correct, but way more comfortable on the eyes themselves. On the back there's nothing, and this is just a sample box, right? So this is a pre-production unit, because they are launching their campaign, crowdfunding campaign, I believe on Indiegogo right now. So I got a pre-production unit to check out and give you guys my first impressions, and give them also my first impressions and feedback. So what we see here is not the state of the final product, how it will be. This is their vision, and as before with the previous product, when they heard feedback from people, they actually implemented feedbacks, such as, for example, the power cord in the previous display was way too short. They actually improved that, and some other things as well. So let's see what we get in this one. And the packaging is actually quite surprising, because obviously I've opened this before, so just full on disclosure, because I've been testing this. And in the package you do get the display itself. We'll get to it, right? But I wanted to cover one thing first, which is you go underneath here and you get pretty much everything that you need for a portable display, which means that you get a power brick connector, which is in this case US standard. It would have been nice if it was an option that where you can attach different styles, or I guess if you're shipping to Europe, then it goes with the European one, etc., etc. And all of the cables that you see here, I checked with them, you get all of this out of the box. And that's not the case. That's definitely not the case with majority of monitors that you actually buy. You don't get any cables. So all of the cabling, everything is an additional cost. And that is actually, it can be a significant cost and significant inconvenience if we're talking about non-standard things, such as the mini HDMI port that we have here. But with the Eazeye I, we're getting the normal HDMI to mini HDMI cable. We get one USB-C to USB-C cable for display connectivity, and you get the power cable, which is USB-A to USB-C, so that you can hook it up to your power brick and deliver power to your monitor that way. So all of this, they have assured me that this comes as standard with the Eazeye I, which is pretty good. Now, when you take the screen out of the protective pouch, you don't get it to see it so kind of mucked up, but I have tried to wipe it off. We'll talk about that a little bit. This is after me trying to wipe it off really hard for a long time, and it's still kind of, yeah, really fingerprint happy. But what you do get is you do get this whole screen, which has some weight, but it looks really beautiful. So it is an all aluminum body. This is kind of like light gold type of color. On the back we have a small Eazeye I logo. We get VESA mounts, we get stereo speakers here. It has nice thin kind of thinning here on the side, which is nice. Incidentally, when we're on this side, we have two USB-C ports. This one, the user manual is saying that the upper one is used for power, the lower one is used for signal connection, but I actually was able to get signal connection for from either of these when hooking up to a device that's able to deliver power and signal at the same time. So that's something that you can do. And you have the mini HDMI here as well. If you're using mini HDMI, you need to use the power as well, because mini HDMI can't supply power. If you're using a USB-C connection, then depending on the device that you're connecting it to, if it can supply enough power via USB-C port that you're plugging into, then you can actually just hook it up with a single cable. On the other side, we have the 3.5-inch audio input, I believe. Yeah, that's an input. And we have the rocker. So this is the OSD plastic rocker that's push in, up and down functionality, and we have the power on, power off button here as well, along with the LED indication here on the side as well. And that's pretty much it. That's all there is to this panel. In the front, we have, when it comes out, it does have a protective foil on top that needs to be removed. In this unit, it was not perfectly clear because it didn't have that little extra flap on the side, but they are saying that that's something that they will be improving, so that it will be clear that you need to remove that flap. And also, it doesn't really hurt to have that flap, and also maybe a print on that protective foil that this needs to be removed before use, because you really, in this unit, it wasn't entirely sure, you know, you're not completely sure that this is the case. And you have the 15.6-inch reflective LCD panel here, fairly slim-ish bezel with a bit of thickening here on the side. The reflectivity is really, really high, like super high, almost mirrorish like. As you can see the insides of my light box here, and maybe if I point it, there you go, you can see my window, which normally I can't really get the reflections, and you can see somewhere around here, maybe you can see me, I don't know, somewhere here, maybe I'm there. So yeah, if I actually see the camera, then maybe the camera sees me. That's how physics work. So yeah, the front panel is very, very reflective, and this is also a touchscreen. So here's how fingerprint happy this thing is. And when you are reacting to, there we go. So if I touch, it just kind of stays, and then the smudge is fairly difficult to kind of get off. Now, this is something, it's not impossible, you just need to scrub in a circular fashion rather than up and down, and then it's possible to get them out much faster. But you are going to be interacting with this screen via touch, so like any of the touch screens, this is going to be smudged up with fingerprints. There's no getting around that. Now, I have talked about this with them, and they have already mentioned that they are strongly considering options of either using a more matte type of surface on top of the screen itself instead of this super highly reflective one, or if they pre-apply a screen protector of some sort or something like that. But this is definitely something that they are aware of, and they are looking into the options of fixing. As far as the issues that I've encountered so far when I was testing this, there were some functional issues, such as that the rocker value is inverted. So the values when you're pushing up, they were going down, when you're going down, they're going up, but they're also aware of that and they're fixing that. But also, this being a touchscreen, you can just simply press the OSD button, and then you can interact with the OSD menu via touchscreen, and that's pretty cool that that actually works. Also, if you connect it to a device that supports transmittance of touch data via the cable, and the platform actually works with that, then you can interact with it via touch. This worked perfectly fine for me with the Windows PC platform. It didn't work for me with Android. I did not test it with the iOS because I don't have the appropriate cables for that, and I don't have an OS X machine to test this with. So I don't know about the Apple stuff. I don't know if the touch works, but I do know that it works fine with Windows. Currently doesn't work with Android. Something that I did mention it to them, and they said that they're kind of looking into it, but they're not sure if that's something that's going to be implemented or not. I'm just kind of reporting the current state of affairs. Now, it looks beautiful. It is absolutely awesome to kind of use. However, as you can see, there's like no stand. There's no legs, there's no nothing. So how do you use it? Well, this standard packaging, along with the cables and everything, it actually comes with the stand as well. So let's check that out. So in the standard packaging, you get this stand as well. And this is a adjustable stand, which is now super tight. I should really untighten these because they are really, really tight. But yeah, it is very much adjustable to any angle that you may want and any height that you may want, and it's actually fairly stable. Another thing that I really do like about this, it's full metal construction. Oh my god, it's so tight. It's full metal construction. Currently it's tightened up that I believe that it would be able to easily handle like 15 kilo load or something like that. I mean, these are thick kind of carrier braces here. All right, so that's something that should definitely be adjusted, and you can adjust, of course, by untightening these a little bit so that you get a little bit more of a, and here as well, and here. What I do like about it is the robustness. The geometry of it is such that when you put the device, it's pretty much most of the times it's fairly stable unless you do something really silly. It's very stable to interact with, especially with the touch things. Another thing that I like is that even though it's fully metal, all the edges are safe. These are nice rounded edges, and I'm applying a lot of force on something that's relatively thin and metal, and I could cut myself super easily on this, but that's not the case, and I've been interacting with this a lot, and all of the edges are nicely machined, and the overall quality of this is really good. In addition, there's padding for the device everywhere. So you put the device here, and there's padding on the back, there's padding on the bottom, and most importantly as well, there's padding on the bottom as well, so that it doesn't slip around or anything like that. How is it supposed to be used? Well, that's fairly easy. You just put the device in here and then it works. It's not ideal, mainly because there's two main issues. Well, the first one is, while it's okay that you can just simply set the screen onto the stand, the way it is now, there's no way to attach the screen to the stand itself. So that means that if I need to adjust the screen, or the stand itself, I need to remove the screen, adjust this, put the screen back on, and then it's okay. Not a big deal, but I don't feel comfortable with the forces applied here to adjust this with the screen on. I just really need to always be mindful of, adjusting it this way and that way. So that is number one point. But what I do really like, okay, come on, focus, there we go. What I really do like about the stand is that it is really flexible, and it can give you an adequate amount of height. And even if I put it like this, which is something that should be it's very stable. We're going like very far back. This is the maximum height that this screen stand will allow for. And only if I do like something really dumb and I start going like way past the stand here, as you can see, the stand base, I'm now putting the weight over here, and it's still able to support touch. But if I go past that point, then of course then you're putting it out of balance. But there's very few situations when you will actually need to do that, and the flexibility of the stand is excellent because I can set it up. I can set it up to be, any way that I want. Yes, it would be great if it was connected, and if it would allow for you to change this with the screen there, but currently it doesn't. So point number one is that the screen is not attached to the stand. That's the negative point that I see. Good Lord. The second part that's negative is I need to move it here so that you can see. Oh no, more. I need to move more. There we go. So when you put the device here, because of the design, we have this empty space, and when you interact with it, it will kind of move back a little bit, and it doesn't feel super solid. So let me try and get it like this. Yeah, so you see that spacing here between, right? So there. So if I place it that it sits perfectly where I want it, if I interact with it, it will get pushed so that it does meet this edge. But unfortunately then, in that position, it no longer stands perfectly here. So this is the perfect position. Once you touch it up, it goes like this. This is easily remedied by simply increasing the thickness of this padding here. So if this padding here is increased to accommodate for the shape difference here, so that basically when you are like putting it in the proper way and that it actually can reach the device here, then that will be easily remedied. So that, I think, is the that's the covering of the stand. It's a really, really good stand and a really interesting stand to kind of look at. Very flexible, not just for this monitor. It's actually something that you can use on multiple devices, and it's a pretty cool thing. So yeah, I mean, I should just loosen this and then I won't have a problem with that, but I would much rather have a stand that's able to give me so much resistance that I can adjust to a lower place than having a shoddy construction and things like that where I can't physically get to the point of where it's like super hard and tight to work with. So yeah, this is a good thing. And if they're able to fix those 2 points, the point of keeping the screen attached to the stand in some way and adjusting the spacing on the back, then I think that this overall package is going to be a really, really good one. And yeah, as I mentioned, don't forget, in the standard packaging, you're getting the screen itself, you get all 3 cables, you get the power supply, and you get this stand as well. All right, so with that all covered, now let's check out and do some real-world practical examples and see how it actually performs and how it compares to a traditional LCD screen in similar and different lighting conditions and different content that you actually look at it. And naturally we have the Eazeye I here on the left, and this is the laptop with its built-in display, of course, and I'm hooked up to the Eazeye I via a single USB-C cable. So it's getting power and the signal, all of it from the laptop via one cable, which is nice. Currently it's running in the mode where it's using the front light, and the front light is set to maximum. So the controls, we'll talk about the controls and some of the shortcomings, but you have this little jog wheel on the side, and then you can go through menus and etc, etc. So as you can see, front light 0, backlight at 100%. So yeah, I'm just gonna try and kind of compare these two and just share my initial observations and basically share that with you. And I'm starting with a regular white grayish article online that has all of these things, and right out of the gate I can see that the color calibration is really different. So there's no whites here on the Eazeye I. Everything has a green tint, and a very strong green tint. So yeah, that's the very first thing that I can see here. I don't know if this is due to a color profile or something like that. As I said, those are the things that I'm going to be checking out in the in-depth review. This is just the first impression, so unpack it, plug it in, and check out what it's like. The clarity is actually really nice. So despite it being only 1080p, because of its smaller size, I mean, that's a really nice PPI that we're talking about. So the clarity is really good. And yeah, this is actually quite nice for regular use, apart from that green tint. That's the only thing that's really kind of getting in the way currently of enjoying these things. And yes, I think it's getting to be a bit darker. For example, if you take a look at this image, yeah, if I compare that, and yes, it does have touch functionality. So if I compare this And if I tilt this so that you don't see the glare so much, then you can actually see that, yeah, this is a lot darker than this one. So we're losing some details here. Pinch to zoom and the touch responsiveness is really good. So this feels good. And when you zoom in, yeah, you have that kind of greenish bluish tint. That's clearly because this is gray, this is pure gray, and this is definitely not showing gray on this unit. This is bluish with some green tint, and you can see that the white, I mean, yeah, this is gray, white, gray, and that's not the colors that we're seeing here. So absolutely there's something with the with the type of LCD panel that they are using, and yes, those types of panels will give this kind of let's say more yellowish, more papery type of light, and we've seen that before on Eazeye I. On the first version of Eazeye I. It just remains to be seen, is this something that can be improved a little bit with the color controls on the OSD menu. The default contrast is, I think, far too strong, and you do lose quite a bit of details here. Now, let's try and see what happens when I turn the brightness all the way off. So when I turn the brightness all the way off, well, now it's fully dependent on the light outside, and right now it's overcast, so it's not fully sunshine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it towards the window. I'm going to turn both of them towards the window so that we can actually see how do they compare and what do we get. And right here you can actually see how the RLCD aspect of this panel actually shows. And I don't know if the camera can pick that up. I hope that it can. But when I'm looking at the display from here, there are several things that definitely pop in mind. The first one is reflectivity. However, I was informed by the developers of this Eazeye I that it's something that they're considering of actually applying maybe a diffusion type of screen protector on top that might resolve that. That also might resolve the second issue, which is smudginess. And because this is a touch display, this is super fingerprint happy, sort of like a Surface 1 and 2 that were like really like smudge factories. So that's something that you can't really avoid from a touchscreen, but yeah, it's a touchscreen, so you have to kind of be prepared for something like that. The thing that's actually surprising me is that I can see clearly and quite strongly the pattern of electronics layer in here. I'm hoping that the camera can pick it up somewhere around here, which I guess is the touch layer or something like that, but I've never seen it that pronounced. I usually seen it as dot, like a dot matrix, and then you can see it. This is not it. This is this is a different pattern and different type of layer altogether, but it is an overlay over the image when I'm looking at it in this way. As for the image itself, I think that it's, again, very similar like the previous Eazeye I. So this is something that I find with the reflective LCD panels. I find it really pleasant because it is not glowing. So basically you can see that where light hits it more, it's a bit brighter, and then it kind of fades into darkness as it kind of blends in the environment light, which is a good and a bad thing. So it depends what you really want, but for me it's extremely pleasant to actually read and use these displays. The sharpness is really good. I mean, for reading under these conditions, this is really nice. And Yeah, there's just something when I'm comparing these two. Let me just move this so that you can see less glare, maybe. There we go, so that you can have a bit more of a comprehensive yeah, comparison here. There's something about, yeah, this panel itself that it just lends itself very nicely for reading with the environment light as well. But the sharpness is something that is a strong impact. That might be the case because the contrast is so strong, but you know, it's definitely something that works. And yeah, for normal images, it actually works okay. And I think that it's rendering colors better than with the front light or the backlight, so to speak. So if I start pumping up the front light, then it compensates. And now you have, let's see, now we have, yeah, that was an unintentional touch. So let's get back from there. There we go. So now we have a situation where it's lit by the environment light, and you have the backlight to compensate. I think that that's a useful thing, but absolutely, yeah, without any question, this is not my preferred mode. So I'm not a fan of how the front light, or the backlight in this case, colorizes the whole thing. Now let's see if I was now trying 0 to 100, right? On off. So let's see if we can blend it to maybe just kind of bring this shadowy part a little bit more, and let's see if we have good control over the front light, sorry, backlight. We do. So let's say this is like 30%, and it does give a nicer kind of combination, so it just pops up this darker side of things a bit better. Let's see if I can pop it a bit more at 50. And yeah, this is not bad. So let's see a different angle like here. So for example, now I am not directly looking at the screen. So the screen is not directly looking at the window. It's perpendicular to the window. And you can see that I get this kind of nice combination between the reflective LCD comfort levels, so to speak, and that the front or the backlight is helping out, because this is without it, and then you can just kind of dose it, yeah, quite okay. Let's say something like this would be comfortable. So I think that this control definitely lends itself well for a display of this type, but you do want a well-lit room for this screen. I'm pretty sure that's what was the case last time, so I'm pretty sure that's what's going to be the case in this one, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing next, because I'm going to put the shades down and then see how this performs in a darker environment against a traditional screen, and yeah, how much does this backlight coloring affect the overall impression. All right, so now we are in a darker type of setting, and I've lowered the yeah, the backlight intensity of this one to something that I would normally use. On the Eazeye I, we are with the backlight at 40% here, and this also feels pretty comfortable. So let's kind of close this, zoom in, so that we can see it a bit better, and then see how this actually compares. And yeah, the yellowish, greenish kind of tint, I have to say that it's quite pleasant. I'm not missing, now that I'm comparing them here, it's surprising me, because I thought that it would bother me a bit more, but now when I'm having them back to back, it's almost as if I can notice the absence of the bluish kind of light that is responsible for the full white here on the LCD. When I'm looking at this, I can feel some sort of sharpness in my eyes, and as soon as I switch my eyes to this one, it just simply feels smoother, right? That's the best way that I can actually kind of compare this to. So let's amp this up to 100, for example, just to see like what do you get. And I think that the brightness levels are actually quite adequate for a normal type of use. Now, I don't think that this is a type of a screen that you're going to be using for gaming or anything like that. It's simply not made for that. But I think that you would be able to do it, except that there is a lag. So you can actually see when I start, let's see here, if I just, yeah. There's a bit of a lag. It's not terrible, but if you're an FPS shooter type of guy, then this is going to be too much lag. And you can see that it's slightly lagging behind the native screen. However, that's actually normal for any external screen that I've tried. And this is not a bad amount of lag, but it is there. Something to kind of keep in mind. Now, the other aspect, so visibility and usability for me is actually quite nice, and it's really interesting that you have this comfort level in here with the portable display that works with the environment lighting, and it works in darker options as well. It seems like best of both worlds. Of course, it's a compromise. The compromise is basically in the color interpretation. That I think is the biggest compromise here, because of that different type of LCD panel that is being used for reflective LCD panels. You can't really get the pure white. You will never be able to get the pure white, and that means that other colors as well are going to be different, and red is a particularly difficult color to render. And as you can see, it's much more darker and kind of burgundy, dark burgundy type of color, where this is actually a pure red. So if color is something that you're working with, then you have to take this into consideration, that this is not going to be a screen that you can use for any kind of color reference, because that's not what it does. Now we'll see if it indeed is possible to adjust the color performance and profiles a little bit better, but so far that's basically how this works. In a darker environment, when we're not in direct lighting, I don't have problems with the reflectivity of the surface screen. I don't have problems with the smudginess of the screen, so it's only going to be in highly lit circumstances. And here I have a very black background, so here I want to test how it actually performs with darker type of content. So let's open up news and see how this works, and it's okay, but I find that the contrast is way too high. So let's try and lower or increase the contrast, and now it's exploding it really severely. Okay, so let's try and find something a bit better. Contrast control is strange, because when it goes down, it's, yeah, it changes the coloration as well. As you can see, it goes blue. So that's definitely not what I would expect from contrast control to give me. Definitely not a thing that I would expect. So let's see, just normal kind of use, and let's see what do we get here. So okay, this is okay. Overall you get that greenish type of tint. It's okay, but I don't prefer the dark content on this screen. I actually prefer going back to, yeah, where was the article? I believe there. Yeah, this is something that's far more comfortable to use on a screen like this than a typical dark type of content. Of course it's usable, definitely it's usable, but yeah, I actually prefer it this type of stuff on a traditional screen than on this one, because it's it may be a personal preference, but definitely on the bright contrast or bright content, Eazeye I is working well. All right, let's give some light back into the room. All right, and now let's just focus on trying to use this as a normal screen without actually looking at the back screen. So yeah, for me it's the same type of experience. I am able to use it more normally. Let's try dark content in well-lit conditions. So this is the absolute worst case scenario, and this is really dark, and now you can see the smudginess and the reflectivity. That's a problem. So I can turn it, right? So now I'm turning it directly at the screen, and the reflectivity is not as bad as the camera is showing it, but definitely it's a problem. For me, the smudginess is way bigger of an issue. So, you know, physics basic 101. If you have dark content on a dark screen in well-lit conditions with something reflective on top, well, that reflective stuff is going to be brighter, and it's going to interfere with the content that you are trying to look at here. So yeah, reading Reddit. However, again, I'm struck with the sharpness. And there's this kind of silvery quality of reflective LCD panels, which is really nice. I'm trying to get the camera to pick it a bit more faithfully. It's extremely difficult to get it to record properly, but yeah, it's not nearly as bad as what you actually see on the camera here. So let me try and maybe like this. If I catch it like this, then the camera is actually seeing more of what I see. So yeah, something like this. And then you can see that, yeah, even the dark content, despite the smudginess, despite reflectivity and everything, it is usable. But this is, yeah, the smudginess is the biggest issue for me here in this kind of situation. Of course, if I switch to a lighter one, well, no, it's still a problem of the smudginess. But as soon as I move it here so that I have more light hitting it, then it's actually quite nice. And again, I'm struck whenever I'm using a reflective LCD panel, I'm struck by that silverish kind of quality of the white color when it is getting enough light. It just makes everything so smooth and sharp at the same point. It's very strange because it blends into the environment and everything. It's a very different experience, and overall a very pleasant one, at least for me. So yeah, like any other reflective LCD panel, this newest Eazeye I portable reflective LCD panel, not only is it the first portable reflective LCD panel, but it's also the first RLCD of this smaller format, because all the previous ones were ginormous. And this one is actually tackling the portability factor, and I think that that's something that makes it a lot more usable, especially when we're talking about having USB-C and HDMI panels there, and the touchscreen here, and the 3.5mm audio, and built-in speakers as well. So it is kind of a full package, and it's a really good idea, but the pricing is that's a hard pill to swallow. Then again, for those who actually need something like this, then absolutely there's nothing else on the market that actually offers something like this. So it really depends what the final, the end result will be. This is actually cool because now the sun is coming out from overcast, and as it does, I get to see a much different and more crisper image, and it's just, yeah, it just shows you how much it depends on the light here. And then even the colors are starting to pop, and then it's a completely different ball game when I compare it to the display behind. This is just something that's really nice, like very nice to use. And I think with the with the touch, it's a really pleasant thing to use for writing, reading, and all general office type of stuff. It's very, very cool. Now, one thing that I wish it had is the rotation, but currently there's no rotation capability. However, I probably would be able to do that here in Windows. So this is a strange type of situation where I can't just, if I just do this, then you're not really seeing exactly what is there. And more importantly, I don't see anything from my angle when I'm sitting here. So, okay, let's show you this, for example. But I don't really know what it is that you're seeing. I can see that you're seeing some kind of content and quite a bit of smudges, like all around. But it's actually quite cool to see this in a vertical format. Whereas if I turn it like this, now it's being hit and lit more nicely with the light itself. And this is now lending itself to be very, very cool. And now that I've adjusted the aperture on my camera so that it's not blown up by the light intensity because the sun came out, hopefully the footage will show a little bit more. But if it doesn't, I apologize, because as I said, recording this type of technology, reflective LCDs, is exceptionally difficult because everything is about angles and about light that's constantly changing and things like that. So you do not have a controlled environment whatsoever. And it's not what you see is what you get, for me at least. It's not what I am looking at is not necessarily what the camera is going to be able to pick up, again, because of the different angles and everything. But hopefully, this here shows basically, well lit and slightly shadow type of situation. And just for a final thing, let's add up a little bit of front light. But yeah, you don't need the backlight. Really doesn't do much. It just slightly at the darker colors, it just kind of pops them a bit. But yeah, if you're in a well lit conditions, that's where this screen definitely thrives in, despite the reflectivity and the smudginess, which is absolutely there. Well, alright, so that is the first look and unboxing of the upcoming Eazeye I 15.6-inch reflective LCD screen. And I hope that I managed to kind of give you, with these examples and images, I tried to make it not look like, ooh, super fancy as a video or anything like that. I just tried to make it as real as possible it is, so that you can see what the technology offers. because the cost is $699, I believe, US dollars. And while you do get a lot in the packaging, you get all the cables and you get the stand and everything, it's still $700 US dollars for a 15.6 inch highly specialized external screen. And that is a lot of money. So that is something that you absolutely have to keep in mind, whether or not that type of cost makes sense for you or not. That's something that only you can actually know. And that's the reason why I wanted to provide these types of things. For me personally, this is the first time that reflective LCD screen seems basically something worth considering for my own personal type of use case scenario, mainly because of the size, right? However, the area where I work in is super darkened and it is not relying on natural light whatsoever. On the contrary, it's relying on the absence of it so that I can have exactly the controlled environment that I actually want and like, etc., etc. So naturally for me, the reflective LCD technology is not something that matches or fits into my own environment. However, many people have brightly lit working conditions. They work next to a window, they work opposite of a window or something like that. And in those cases, reflective LCD technology can absolutely be a big plus, something to absolutely consider. However, you always get back to that really massive cost of $700 US dollars. So let's say 700 US bucks, and maybe a stand like this, if we're like super generous, is like, okay, $100, even though it's not gonna be, but let's say that it's $100. So then you're down to 600 US dollars for this packaging, and let's say that 3 cables that you get and a charger with maybe $15 per cable, it's gonna be like 45 and let's say $60 you get off. Then it's like $540-ish for a 15.6 inch screen, which is still a lot. It does offer type of technology that you can't find anywhere else, and you can't really find a 15.6 inch reflective LCD that can perform like this. And if we're considering like outdoor use, then there's zero competition, because no OLED or LCD screen can compete with this at all. I mean, you can have thousands of nits if you want, but on a bright sunny day, reflective LCD panel is gonna just murder them all immediately. And that's exactly what's actually happening here with this one. So this is a highly niche product, and what it can do is really unique, and it does do it extremely well in the outdoor conditions. But as soon as you actually put him indoor, we do get problems with reflectivity and with the smudginess and with the coloration of the backlight. There definitely are issues that you have to be taking into consideration. So that's why it's not a black and white situation. This is going to be, more than any other product, I think, highly dependent on your individual needs, case, environment, and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's something that you have to kind of keep in mind. And also please keep in mind that this is a crowdfunding project, so if something does go wrong, you don't get your money back, and there's nothing you can actually do about it. There's no guarantees of any sort. So that in itself is also something to absolutely keep in mind and keep in consideration. Lastly, I wanted to just address a couple of things that I have received as a response from them, so that I can make clarifications here in the end of the video. So yes, the campaign is going to be an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign, and the link to it you can find in the description down below. And by the time that you actually see this video, it is going to be already launched, because that's how I timed it, and etc, etc. All 3 cables are included in the whole thing. As far as the reflectivity goes, they are saying that they are thinking about supplying an anti-glare protector. After hearing feedback from other reviewers on this suggestion, we have decided to supply a free anti-glare protector. We were initially against this, as this would affect the brightness of the screen under natural light conditions. We are currently experimenting with enhancing our TP touch layer with a Corning glass touch layer, which would naturally have low glare and only affect the brightness minimally. This is a built-in screen layer and not a screen protector that is added on. So this will be similar to the TCL NXT Paper S8 if you have ever gotten a chance to play with that. So basically, as I said in the video, but I just wanted to kind of clarify exactly what they said. So they're experimenting with an option of having an anti-glare layer on the screen itself, or that they supply a screen protector that is matte, so that then needs to be applied. However, both of those will have a slightly to somewhat negative effect of the brightness of the screen under the naturally lit conditions, because they're an obstacle that diffuses the transmittance of the light that's coming into the screen. Therefore, the bounce back photons are not going to be as many or as intense. The second thing is that we are considering changing the heavy stand to a leather folio case. However, there is a high cost associated with that, as it has to be customized. It will be more practical, as not only will it protect the screen but also act as a stand. If we implement this, customers will be able to choose which stand they would like. They can purchase both stands as an add-on. So they do say you can purchase both stands as an add-on, but previously they said we plan to price $699 on the launch date, and when I talked about the stand, they said that it's included in the packaging. So I think that they're probably going to clarify this, but I think that the stand is going to be included in the $699 price, or maybe as an add-on. Some of that will be the case. I really don't know at this point. I hope that you found the video interesting and informative and useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and ding the notification bell in the description below to get notified when new videos come out on mydeepguide. And if you would like to support the independence of mydeepguide, then go check out the mydeepguide.com/shop, where you can find MDO and MMP, both of which are hyperlinked organizing files that help you organize your daily life or all of your meeting planning needs. And if that's something that sounds interesting to you, check out the links to the dedicated playlists below to get more information of what these products are, what they are not, and whether or not they suit your needs and wants. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!